too much pressure. You hold it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or for those that are new here, hello, my name is Alicia. So in today's video we're going to be doing episode 7 of my calf rearing series, and it is all about answering a question that I get all the time, and that is, what do you feed your calves? So we mix both whole milk and milk powder together, and in today's video I'm going to tell you why we do that. So we're going to be going through the advantages and disadvantages of both whole milk and milk powder. We're going to be looking at the costs of them, the practicality, and yeah, everything to do with the differences between these two. Now this video is aimed at all you small calf rearers out there. This is not aimed at dairy farmers because obviously there is a lot more factors to consider when you're selecting what to feed your calves. But for all you small calf rearers out there, definitely keep on watching to find out why it is good to mix both your whole milk and milk powder together. I hope you guys enjoy this video and get some valuable knowledge from it, and I hope it helps you make your decision of what you want to feed your calves this season. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. Alright, so first up we're going to look at the benefits of using whole milk. So the number one benefit is obviously the cost of it. So you can pick up whole milk for around 10 cents per litre, as opposed to when you mix up milk powder it works out to be $1 a litre. So that is a massive saving. If you think about the 1,000 litre pod that you fill up of whole milk and you pay $100 for it, if you mixed up the same amount in milk powder you're going to be paying $1,000. The next advantage to using whole milk is you don't have to mix it like you do with milk powder. So obviously when you milk the cows it comes out as it is, and then that's how we get it here when we store it in the vat. So all you got to do is simply turn on the tap and there's your milk, no mixing. Another benefit is to help the calves with their transition from whole milk onto milk powder. So that's actually how we first came into using whole milk. We were kind of sick of getting the calves home and then having to put them straight onto full milk powder, which generally upsets their tummies because obviously they're not used to it. They're used to having the whole milk off their mums. By using whole milk and mixing it in with the milk powder, it definitely helps with the transition, and it definitely reduces those tummy upsets and those scours. And my last benefit for using whole milk is it reduces waste, because obviously farmers were just going to dump that milk, so it's definitely better to come to me and I can reuse it for calves rather than just going down the drain. Now we're going to move on to the disadvantages of using whole milk. So the biggest disadvantage is just carting it around and storing it. So pretty much to pick up the whole milk you've got to have 1,000 litre pods on a trailer. Once you get to the farms you've got to have some sort of pump to be able to pump it out of their vat and into your pod. And then when you get home obviously you've got to have a vat like this one behind me to store it. So yeah, it can use a lot of equipment to be able to pick up this milk and to be able to store it. Now I'm going to chuck in a clip here and show you what it's like when we get the whole milk home. It was a whole lot of fun. We actually just bought a new pump, a petrol pump, which was really fast. It pumped that milk into that vat so damn fast. We used to just use a submersible pump and would be sitting there for ages waiting for that pod to go down. So yeah, I hope you like watching the next clip because it definitely was a little bit funny. The power behind that pump was blimmin' strong. We just went and picked up 2,000 litres of milk from a local farmer down the road, and now we are just going to back the trailer up and unload it into the vat behind me. Yeah, watch out, collies. The fun part is always trying to get this trailer in here because it's kind of located in a real awkward angle. Collies. Watch out, collies. Why? Will the ute get them? Oh god, I can already feel it. Oh, that's way too much pressure. You hold it. Oh my god. That's a good ass pump. Check out that pressure. I already feel the slipperiness. Oh god.
Hold on.
Now we're draining the second vat, but this vat's only 1700 litres, so we've got to put 300 litres in that, but we'll use that stuff first before we start using the vat stuff. But yeah, almost done. Really fast. It's almost done. Now we have 2,000 litres of milk for the calves for only 200 bucks. Now it's just the fun of cleaning all the mess up, because it's whole milk, it does make a mess. Lucky we've got the dogs that can kind of lick up the floor, but it's good having a concrete floor, so then we can just go in with the hose and spray it all out to outside here. But anyways, it is actually calf feeding time. They're all waiting for me, and they can probably smell all the fresh milk. They've been on milk powder for the last, actually these ones have been on milk powder since we've got them, and we've had them about 3 weeks now. So this tonight will be their first feed of whole milk, so they're probably very excited about that. Except we're going to have very fat dogs, aren't we? There's also the fact that the milk can go off, so there's an expiry date on it. So normally that would come with a chiller. Unfortunately we don't have 3-phase here, and most chillers need 3-phase. So the milk when we pick it up only lasts around 10 days in here. Just note that when we pick up the milk it is chilled. So obviously it's a big volume of milk chilled, so it does stay cold for those 10 days. If you do have a chiller, I believe it would last about a month, so that would be amazing, but that's just not on the cards for us. So yeah, milk has an expiry date, and you've just got to use it up before it goes thick and gross, and you do not want that to happen. A very big disadvantage to whole milk is availability. There is just not a lot of it around, and if it is around, it definitely gets snapped up very quickly after it's been advertised. So it's kind of like a drop what you're doing and go and get it kind of thing, because when it's listed it does go within like minutes. You generally get whole milk at the end of milking season, so about now a lot of people are drying off and they might not have the amount of milk needed for a sufficient Fonterra pickup. They might have milked a penicillin cow by accident. The vat temperature could have dropped, so they can't send that milk to Fonterra, or they might have excess colostrum or something like that. But generally there isn't that much whole milk around, because obviously the dairy farmers send all their whole milk to Fonterra to get paid, because they definitely get paid a whole lot more than 10 cents a litre when they're sending it through to Fonterra. So yeah, availability and competition are definitely your two biggest ones when it comes to trying to get some whole milk. The last disadvantage I'm going to be talking about is lack of consistency. So obviously you're picking up milk off all different farms from all different cows, so the milk, the makeup of the milk is always going to be different, which can affect your calves. Also transfer of disease. If that cow's got something wrong with it, it's in the milk, technically you could spread that to your calf. So that is definitely something to just think about when you are getting your whole milk. And that is pretty much one reason why we try and stick to the same farms when we're picking up the whole milk, so we can have some sort of consistency for our calves. So now we're going to be moving on to the benefits of using milk powder. So carrying on before of the disadvantages of whole milk, about consistency, obviously that's a big one when it comes to milk powder, because the blends and everything are the same every single time, so the calves are going to have consistency throughout the time that you're feeding them. A big advantage to using milk powder is obviously all the additives that they put in there, and that is definitely one of the main reasons why we go with both milk powder and the whole milk. So there's a lot of prebiotics, a lot of minerals and vitamins that they put in there to help with the calf's gut health and also help build their immune system. They also put a coccidiostop in there to control and help prevent coccidiosis as well. Another big benefit is availability. Now, unlike whole milk, you will always have milk powder available. Well, most of the time. There was actually a time when they ran out of milk powder. We won't even go there. That was very, very stressful. But normally they always have milk powder available at your local Farmlands or Farm Source store, so it's definitely peace of mind knowing that there will always be some milk powder in the shop when you run out, unlike whole milk where it is not always available. So yeah, you've definitely got your your milk powder always available for you. And my last benefit to using milk powder is that it can store for quite a long time. So it's got a few preservatives in it, and you can store it for generally up to a year. So I do recommend using the milk powder within a year. But if you need to store it for longer than that, you can always just chuck it in your freezer. Alright, now let's talk about the disadvantages of using milk powder. Now there's pretty much three main disadvantages. The first one, the biggest disadvantage, is obviously the cost of milk powder. So this milk powder behind me is premium milk powder, and it is around $100 a bag. And it normally equals about $1 per litre as opposed to the whole milk, which I mentioned earlier, which is only 10 cents a litre. The second biggest disadvantage, and I'm sure you've all heard of it and I'm sure you've all experienced this, is trying to mix the milk powder. This can be a mission when you're trying to mix up big amounts of milk powder. I've seen all sorts of ways of mixing, people using old washing machines, drills with mixers and whisks on the end. So yeah, that's definitely a big one. I definitely recommend using hot water when you're trying to mix it with milk powder. Don't try and use milk powder in cold water because that's just an absolute disaster. And lastly, the other disadvantage is storing it. So generally, if you want to get a good deal on your milk powder, you've got to buy a ton of it, 50 bags. Rats and rodents love it. So it definitely can cost you when the rats get into it. We actually one year did have a whole pallet with little rat nibbles all on the sides of our bags. So when you go and pick it up, you lose like half your milk powder on the floor. And you're generally thinking, oh my god, that was a $100 bag of milk powder and I've just lost like a big pile of it. So yeah, trying to keep it away from rats and that is quite difficult. What we use is these big chest freezers. We pretty much chuck, I think we can chuck around at least 10 bags in a freezer, which I know it can look like a bit of a dump yard having freezers everywhere, but hey, I'd rather look like a dump yard and not lose hundreds of dollars worth of milk powder by getting them eaten by rats. So yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of other ways that you can store them, but yeah, that is definitely a big disadvantage to milk powder. So yeah, apart from storing them and protecting them from rats and stuff, you also need the space to store them. So some people might not have a big area to store 50 bags, so that can become a disadvantage to milk powder as well. Now the last one is the bags themselves. So if you haven't noticed, milk powder comes in these plastic bags. So every bag of milk powder you use, that means you've got a plastic bag to get rid of. So that to me is a big disadvantage to milk powder. Milk powder companies should actually try and think of a way to get rid of these plastic bags. I know some of them do have like paper bags, like Ancarf, but there is always a plastic liner on the inside to protect it, obviously, if the bag gets wet. But yeah, that's definitely a disadvantage to milk powder because you end up with a hell of a lot of rubbish that you need to dump at the end of it. Right, so now that we've looked at both the advantages and disadvantages of both whole milk and milk powder, we're going to talk about what we use. So we mix the both of them, and we've done this for a few years now, and definitely we think this is the way to go. So by mixing them together, you get the cost effectiveness by using the whole milk, but then you also get all those additives and goodies that are in the milk powder as well that help benefit your calves. So how we do it is we pretty much do about 1/3 of a bucket in milk powder and then 2/3 of a bucket in whole milk. So if you were to just use whole milk, generally it's freezing cold in the vat and you've got to find a way to warm it up. So a benefit of mixing them is that the milk powder is mixed in boiling hot water, then you tip your cold whole milk on top, and then once they're mixed together you get nice lukewarm milk, perfect temperature for your calves. So when it comes to the volumes that we feed our calves, we kind of wing it a little bit. Generally when they're little, they will always get that 2 litres twice a day, and then when they go outside they will still go on that once a day, 4 litres. But if we've got excess whole milk, we will kind of up their feeds a little bit just because we have it there available and it's going to go off. So at the moment we do have quite a bit of whole milk, so they're getting around 5 litres. So yeah, the mix can change, but if you don't do it dramatically, it doesn't really affect your calves that much. So I wouldn't go just completely changing from whole milk one day to milk powder the next day. So for example, if we ran out of whole milk, I'm not just going to feed them fully on milk powder the next day. I will kind of keep checking the vat, and if I know that we're getting low on whole milk, I'll start cutting back the whole milk and upping that milk powder, so then they can gradually change. So calves are quite sensitive to dietary changes. If you just go ahead and just switch like rapidly, they can get scours and stuff, but generally the older the calves get, they handle it a lot better, I've noticed. So yeah, we do play with the volumes a little bit, but generally it's pretty basic. We do kind of stick to the volumes that are on the back of the milk powder bag. Just a quick side note, if you are looking for the mixing rates and feeding rates and things like that, it is on the back of the milk powder bags. So generally they will tell you if you are doing twice a day or once a day, how much grams per litre you need to feed your calves. So definitely recommend that you stick to what's on the back of the bag. However, yes, I know that we alter ours a little bit, but I have been rearing calves for a very long time, but it definitely pays to stick to what it says on the bag, because if you are underfeeding them and not giving them enough milk powder, it definitely can stunt their growth, and you don't want to overfeed them either. With the warm milk. And then tip it in. Right, so I'm going to wrap up this video there. It was a whole lot of information in a short video, so I hope you guys all learn a little bit about whole milk and milk powder. And yeah, if it helped you make up your mind what you want to be feeding your calves this season. I know there's a lot to think about when it comes to these things. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will definitely be making episode 8 very, very soon. I was going to try and do it in this video, comparing the different milk powders. So how you've got whey based milk powder and casein based milk powder. You know, when you go to the shop and there's those cheaper ones, those are generally whey, and then you've got these like premium milk powder. So I think my episode 8 is going to be all about that, because I know that that can be a little confusing for some people. So hopefully I can explain it in an easy way, and then it can help you with your decision on what milk powder you want to use when you're rearing your calves. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, or give this video a like if you liked this kind of video, and I will definitely catch you in the next one. Bye.